My mouth is fresh. My mouth is very fresh. I've got a fresh mouth. Fresh. Hopefully it won't be too much. Hey there, I'm Gazbot, and it's time for another of Gazbot's Toy Shots. That's right, Gazbot's Toy Shots, where we talk about, well, toys. And usually it's about recent acquisitions and flea market finds and discounts and things like that. But today is a little bit different. I'm only going to be talking about one thing. Well, I'm sort of going to be able to talk about one thing, but I'm going to be able to talk about 8 things in that one thing. What is this? Some sort of Russian nesting doll? Well, not exactly, but let me show you this. I just broke them all. This is a case of figures. This is an entire case of Marvel Legends. These are the 6-inch, more geared towards adult, although I'm sure children get them too, Marvel Comics figure line. Now this is one of the newer waves. It's not the newest wave. It is the X-Men wave, as it's known. You can see here it says Marvel X-Men Legends Assortment Wave 1, and then it says 16. I don't know what the 16 means. Maybe that's the 16th wave this year, or how old I should be when I stop caring about this sort of thing. So, I collect Marvel Legends now. I didn't. I resisted for a long time. I like Marvel Comics, I like the figures, but I just have so many collections. What sucked me in was the Giant Man Build-A-Figure from Civil War, where you needed to get a Build-A-Figure piece from each figure in that wave. And I was worried about having to pay a lot of money on the secondary market or tracking them down. And I loved the Giant Man. I'm a big fan of Ultraman. And so it's just, super giant superhero is right up my alley. And he looks very, for lack of a better word, Japanese, very Sentai with his helmet and stuff. So I bought a case of the Civil War wave with the intention of not keeping any of them except for the Build-A-Figure, which I did. I did end up keeping a Black Panther, and the rest of them I either have gotten rid of or will be getting rid of. However, I, in the meantime, picked up some Spider-Man figures and a few other things, so I guess I'm collecting. So why did I get this case specifically? Well, the main reason was because there is a Deadpool in here. My wife is a huge Deadpool fan, and everybody knew that was going to be the rare hard to get one. But why get a whole case? A couple reasons. One reason was an opportunity presented itself when I was at Variant Comics and Collectibles, which is run by a nice guy named Hector, and that's down in Morgan Hill in the Bay Area of California, where I live. And he said that he could get me a case, and he did. I've bought things from him before. He's a good guy. I've sold him some artwork. He's bought some toys. I sold him some artwork. He has sold me some toys. I have friends that work with him and stuff, so it's worthwhile checking out the shop. I actually did a signing down there for my comic, the Horror A4. If you know, I also have art stuff on this channel. And so he's a stand-up guy, and he'll give you good deals, and his stock is always rotating, which is what I like. But he also does special orders for things like this. Now, the reason I got this case was, I got a discount versus buying each individual figure, because normally they cost $20 plus, shipping and or tax depending on how you get them. But that's not really retail, because if you happen to be lucky enough to find the rare and hard to get figures, you get them for that. But Deadpool, this wave has been out for a while, and Deadpool is still going for $35, $40 every time you see him, unless you were lucky enough to find him. And I knew Deadpool was the main one I wanted. So if I could guarantee getting them all at retail or less, I'm ahead of the game. And so that's what I did. So let's open it up. The other reason to get it is for a Build-A-Figure. In this case, it's the Juggernaut, which I'm not particularly interested in, but I digress. Let's speed as I open this case up. Now, this is cool. This is the first case I've ever opened, ever. Because as a toy collector, I've never bought a case before, other than that Civil War case. And it had to be checked, so I didn't literally get to open it. So it's the second case I've ever bought, the first one I've ever opened. I guess since my days working at a toy store, which was back in high school. Come on, baby. And just like that, it's time to check out the wave. Now here's the other reason I was willing to get this wave. A lot of times waves, or assortments sometimes they're called, come out and you get like 1 Batman and 3 Catwomen and 1 Robin and the Joker's the rare one or whatever. More often with these Marvel Legends, you get 6 figures that are unique and then 2 duplicates. For example, in my Civil War one, I got 2 Captain Americas and 2 Black Panthers. This one is 8 single figures, no duplicates. So theoretically, if I want to keep them all, I'll have no duplicates. But as I said, I mainly got it for Deadpool. Now let's see what's first. Okay, first up is Iceman. Now this is a more modern version of Iceman, where he's got, I'll show you art on the back, where he's got sort of the spikes on his back and stuff. He's a little bit more youthful. He's got hair, as opposed to the one that, was snow or all ice and didn't really have any other features. This figure is cool. It's translucent. I'm on the fence about keeping this one. I like Iceman. This isn't the version of Iceman I typically relate to because I'm a little bit older, but I do think it's a nice looking figure, and of course the Build-A-Figure Juggernaut arm comes with him. So there's Iceman. What's up next? Up next is Jean Grey as the Phoenix. Again, this is X-Men wave, so they're all going to be X-Men or X-Men related characters. Now this figure is pretty nice. She comes with the torso. You can see the photo on the back. She comes with the torso of the Juggernaut. I am not a huge Jean Grey / Phoenix fan. I'm probably not going to keep this figure unless my wife decides she wants it. It's a nice figure, I don't have a problem with it, but I feel that it should have some energy effect parts. It should have some wings or something so she can levitate, or some claws, because that's what kind of makes the Phoenix cool. This just looks like Jean Grey in a different outfit, and it doesn't do anything for me. If anything, it'd be cool if the Wave, the Build-A-Figure, was a giant fiery Phoenix or something. That being said, you know, not a bad figure, just not one I particularly want. Okay, what's up next? Well, it's Cable. Yep. Nothing says 90s like Cable and Deadpool, and the two of them together are a perfect fit in this wave. There's his photo on the back. This is not the original classic Cable, but it represents the classic Cable. His shoulder pads are a little smaller. He's got some of his face ripped off. You know, it's a good figure. It's a very solid figure. It's not the version of Cable that first came out, but it's a good amalgamation of the looks I've seen. This might even be based on a specific look. I don't recognize exactly this look, but it definitely looks like, oh, this is Cable. This is the Cable you think of, because he's one of those characters also that he's very gear-based. So his jacket will change, his guns will change over time. So I have no problem with this version of him. He would be a maybe along with Iceman with me, but I feel like Q, because she's a Deadpool fan, is going to want Cable to go with Deadpool. So he's almost definitely a keep in terms of our household. What's up next? Okay, this is a definite keep for me. Wolverine. Now, Wolverine is a great character that arguably has been overexposed and overused over the years. I don't actually have a Wolverine figure at all, let alone a good one. The only Wolverine figures I've ever owned were the Secret Wars one and then the early Toy Biz one. I mean, I may have had one other that fell into my collection along the way, but this is my favorite version of Wolverine, the brown and yellow. I was gonna say the classic, and I guess it's a classic in that it's old, but it wasn't original. Originally he had yellow and blue, then he changed to brown and yellow, which he had for a very long time, until about the 90s when Jim Lee turned it back to yellow and blue, and since then he's had a bunch of permutations, but this is the Wolverine I think of. What makes him extra good is that he has hands with his claws retracted, but the hands with the claws out, if you notice, they look like they're bent or messed up, which at first bothered me when I saw one of these in the store. I almost bought it because like they're kind of uncommon, but I knew I had the case coming. But if you look, they're a little bit bent. But the claws come out, each one. There's 6 individual little claws there, and so that you could have him pop up just 1 or just 2 or 3, which is something he used to do a lot in the comics. I mean, I guess he still does it from time to time, but it used to be an all-the-time kind of thing, like 1, 2, you want to go for 3, bub, and now I can reenact that without using my own face. So this is a definitely must keep for me. Even, you know, in my fledgling small Legends collection, which is getting less small all the time, this would be on my short list. And the fact that it came out right as I started picking them up and was able to get a case from Hector, a variant, hey, even better. Okay, here's the reason the case was originally bought. Mr. Wade himself, Deadpool. Now, Deadpool has had a surge in popularity because of the movie and XYZ, but Q has been a fan of Deadpool since I've known her, which is a very long time, just from the comics before he even got, you know, popular how he is now, and even before he got as popular as those few years ago. I like him too. She is a much bigger fan than I am. This figure, however, is amazing. Even if you're not a fan of Deadpool, he doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure part, so he comes with 2 different swords, a knife, a handgun, like a big machine gun looking thing. Oh, he has 2 pistols, and then some kind of like, the other thing I thought was a handgun is like a rocket launcher or something, like Terminator 2, one of those. And he's got a taco because he likes tacos, and he's got an alternate head with his scarred up face, and he's got a bazooka with a boxing glove on the end of it, which would equally work with Joker or Harley Quinn or any of those. He's even got a nice little cartoon on the back because he's also known for breaking the 3rd wall and acknowledging that he is a character in a comic or a movie, etc. Also, I really like this head sculpt. If you look at it, and get in real close there. He's got kind of one eye, like he's like, hey, what are you doing? It's not just even like Spider-Man eyes. So that's pretty cool. So this is definitely, if you're a Deadpool fan, it's a must get, but it is a very nice figure. Just as an action figure collector, I like it more than I thought I would, looking at it a lot right now. Obviously, he's a must keep as well. This Wolverine and Deadpool is like me and Q right here. These are our definite keeps, along with probably Cable and possibly Iceman. The next one, okay, this to me is the most disappointing one in the wave, and this is Havoc, Marvel's Havoc, who is Scott Summers' brother, Alex Summers. He was in the X-Men movies recently as a minor character, and he's sort of oscillated between being a major and minor character in the books. He was the leader of X Factor for a while, and I enjoy this character. This version, I'm guessing, is a modern version. I haven't read X-Men in a little while. But it's kind of heartbreaking to me because if it was the leader of the X Factor team, I thought that suit was kind of dumb, but I did read that comic, and so for nostalgia's sake, I'd probably want that version. But what I really want is the classic version, which is similar to this, but the white stripes on his head were raised, and it was white energy instead of blue, and he didn't have silver gloves. So again, it was very similar, arguably a little bit goofier, but I feel like this suit is goofy too. So it's this weird mix of, well, this isn't a cool modern version, and it's not the 90s version. It's sort of a new version of the old suit that looks just as goofy, but isn't the original suit. And his effect parts being blue, and even on his chest they're being blue, kind of bums me out because it should be white or maybe a little bit yellow. He comes with a Juggernaut leg. I thought I might be able to stomach it and keep him because I do like Havoc, and I would like a classic Havoc figure, which they did have in the Legends line years ago, but it doesn't look great, and I don't know that I want to pay for one, whatever it costs in the secondary market now. This is one I'm definitely getting rid of. Partially, it's not even a horrible figure. I just think it's a horrible version of this character, and all the more heartbreaking because it's so close to the one I would most want. So he's going over here. He is absolutely 100% getting rid of. Okay, this is the figure I second most wanted after Wolverine, and this is Kitty Pryde. Catherine Pryde, Shadowcat, Sprite, whatever you want to call her, she is the pride of the X-Men. Now, this is not the suit I necessarily would have picked for her. I do like this suit. This kind of reminds me of the Astonishing X-Men Joss Whedon suit. I love that she comes with her dragon, Lockheed. This is the Build-A-Figure part. I'm sorry, this is the Build-A-Figure part for Juggernaut. But she also comes with this extra helmet, which was for another Build-A-Figure of Onslaught, which came with a red skull head. This is the original Magneto-looking Professor X-y head, which is cool. If I had Onslaught, I'd rather have this head. I don't have Onslaught, but yeah, she's great. I'm looking at her eyes. Her eyes look good. So I've heard that sometimes the eyes are painted not well. She does look like she has a little bit of flash, like extra plastic under her chin. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe not. It's not terrible. It's a bummer, though, considering that the first one I've seen it on, and this is probably the only, yeah, because even Wolverine, yeah, no, he doesn't have it. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but that's, you know, imperfections. I'd rather have a little flash under her chin that I could maybe sand off than having mispainted eyes that I would have to theoretically repaint, which I'm not going to. But yeah, I like Kitty Pryde. I like Shadowcat as a character. I would have preferred her blue suit because I would love to recreate Excalibur, which is one of my favorite comics. However, my second choice would be this sort of proto-X-Men, New Mutants, original kind of team look. And so, again, the fact that it comes with Lockheed, double plus good. So that's three right there that are definitely being kept. And the last one, there's another maybe. And this is Rogue. Rogue was one of my favorites as a kid. This is the 90s version like you would have seen in the X-Men cartoon. This is not my favorite version of her. I have a little bit of nostalgia for it from the cartoon, and it's not her worst version, certainly, but I did like the bigger, puffed up skunk hair, and the green and black suit would have been my preference, but I understand I'm in the minority, and this is the version most people want. And what gives her more desirability as this version is I hear that the next wave of X-Men, among other things, is going to include the 90s Jim Lee Cyclops, which will pair perfectly with her, which makes me more likely to want to keep this figure. That's the end of the box. Let me check her eyes. Not bad. They're not as good as Kitty's eyes, but I have seen some that are painted better and worse. One interesting accessory she comes with, if you look, she's got a hand. That's because she has gloved hands, because part of her power, she can't touch anybody skin to skin, or she absorbs their energy, possibly hurting them. So she uses it as an attack, but she doesn't want to accidentally hit anybody. But she comes with one ungloved hand, which I think is awesome, because that's the equivalent of coming with like a laser blast for Cyclops or something. That's her attack hand. So yeah, she's a maybe keep. She's a maybe keep. The fact that Cyclops is coming out and I could maybe form the 90s team actually is much more appealing. So to recap, Havoc, the worst one. I have no interest. I don't want him for free. Phoenix, whatever, no accessory parts. Probably not going to keep her unless Q wants her. Iceman, not the version I want, but a nice figure. He's going to the maybe pile. Rogue, I got to think on it. She's pretty good. The eyes are not perfect, but she's pretty good. And Cyclops coming out. He's in the maybe pile. Cable most definitely being kept because of Q. Wolverine and Kitty being kept because of me. And I also like having the two of these as a little team. And Deadpool, the reason for buying the case to begin with. So I give this case overall a big thumbs up because even the figures I'm not sure about are good figures. They're good choices. There are characters either we haven't seen in a while or versions of the characters we haven't seen in a while. And even Havoc, as much as I complain about him, I'm sure there's somebody that wants a Havoc figure. I'm sure this is somebody's favorite version of Havoc, and he's not a bad figure. He's just not the one I want. When it comes to the Juggernaut build-a figure, I'm not interested. I'm not a huge fan of the Juggernaut, but even if I was, the Marvel Diamond Select version seems to be the better choice, and you can still get it reasonably cheap. So the real question is, am I going to open all of these and build the Juggernaut and maybe trade or sell him, or am I going to leave the 2 sealed that I don't want? I don't know. All I know for sure is I'm going to open these, well, actually I'm not going to open them. I'm going to give him the cue. I'm going to open these 2 right away and have some fun with my X-Men Marvel Legends. I'm going to show you some pictures of all the figures that get opened at the end. I'll do a little scroll. You can see all the packages so you can get the details better. And the ones that I opened, you can see them in nice poses. So that's it for me today. Thanks again to Hector at Variant Comics and Collectibles. And I'll see you guys next time on Gazbot's Toy.